Functional anatomy of heart, cardiac innervation and cardiac muscle. Now the students will be able to know after the completion of this class. The student must be able to acquire brief knowledge of functional anatomy of heart, apprehend the reflections of pericardial layers and understand the physiological consequence of pericardial effusion, differentiate the effects of vagal and sympathetic stimulations of heart, appreciate the importance of cardiac vagal tone and sympathetic tone, understand the functional speciality of histology of cardiac muscles, appreciate the role of cardiac muscles as functional syncytium, understand the myocardial contractile system and arrangement of sarcotubular system in the cardiac muscle, explain the length-tension relationship of cardiac muscle, define Frank-Starling law of heart and explain its physiological mechanisms. Introduction. Cardiac muscle contracts in response to the impulse generated intrinsically in a synode, that is the pacemaker of the heart. Cardiac muscle is neither fatigued nor can be titanized for its specialized histological, mechanical and electrical properties, excitation, contraction, coupling and length tension relationship. Now here comes the scientist, name of the scientist Ernest Henry Starling, 1866 to 1927, was a great teacher and researcher in physiology whose long career was marked by many contributions to the development in physiology. He studied the mechanism of lymph formation and described the mechanical factors for lymph production. He studied the osmotic effects of serum proteins on fluid movements along the capillaries, for which the mechanisms of capillary filtration is popularly known as Starling hypothesis, and the factors are called Starling forces. He studied the chemical regulation of pancreatic secretion. He described the principles of cardiac function, especially length tension relationship of cardiac muscle, which is popularly known as Starling's law or Frank-Starling's law of the heart. He had also studied the factors determining the growth of the mammary gland. Then functional anatomy. The heart weighs 300 gram in adults. The covering of the heart is called pericardium. 4 chambers are present, 2 atria right and left and 2 ventricles right and left. The wall of each chamber of the heart has 3 layers, of which most developed in the ventricles is the myocardium. Then coming to pericardium, it is the double layered sac covering the heart, fibrous pericardium. It is the outer layer which is tough and inelastic due to dense, irregular connective tissue and prevents over-distension of the heart. Serous pericardium, it is the inner layer which is further made up of 2 layers. The outer layer of the serous pericardium, that is the parietal pericardium, that lies in close contact with the fibrous pericardium. The inner layer of the serous pericardium, visceral pericardium, that lies in close contact with the heart. Then pericardial cavity, the space between the 2 layers of the serous pericardium. It contains the pericardial fluid. Amount of pericardial fluid is 15 milliliter. The function of pericardial fluid is to reduce friction between the layers of the pericardium. The pericardial effusion, accumulation of excess fluid in pericardial cavity. The wall of the heart chambers, 3 layers, epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. Epicardium, this is the outermost layer and is made up of mesothelium and connective tissue. Myocardium, the middle layer is the myocardium muscle which forms the bulk of the ventricles. Wall of atria is thinner, that is 2 mm thick, than the wall of the ventricles. The wall thickness is proportionate to the pressure generated by the chambers to propel blood. The left ventricular wall thickness is 10 mm as left ventricle generates maximum pressure to pump blood into the systemic circulation. The right ventricular wall thickness is 5 millimeter, as right ventricle generates less pressure to pump blood into the pulmonary circulation. The muscles of the ventricles are arranged mostly spirally. Endocardium, this is the inner wall of the heart. It consists of a layer of endothelium overlying a thin layer of connective tissue. It is continuous with the endothelial lining of large vessels that originate from the heart. Then the cardiac chambers. The four chambers, that is, two atria right and left and two ventricles right and left. Right atrium receiving blood from different parts of the body via inferior and superior vena cava is called venous return. It pours blood into the right ventricle through the right atrioventricular valve or tricuspid valve. The emptying of blood from the right atrium into the right ventricle is largely passive. Only about 20% of the blood is transferred by atrial contraction, that is atrial systole. Left atrium receives blood from pulmonary circulation and empties into left ventricle via left AV valve, atrioventricular valve. Right ventricle pumps blood into pulmonary circulation via pulmonary semilunar valve. The peak pressure generated by right ventricular contraction is about 25 mm of mercury. Left ventricle pumps blood into systemic circulation through aortic valves. The peak pressure generated by the left ventricular contraction is about 120 mm of mercury. Then the cardiac valves. The cardiac valves are present at the junction between the chambers and at the output orifices of the ventricles. They are made up of thin flaps, leaflets. The orientation of the valves allows unidirectional flow of blood. There are two atrioventricular valves and two semilunar valves. Location between the atria and ventricles, that we are discussing about AV valve, atrioventricular valve. The location between atria and ventricles, the left atrioventricular valve is the mitral valve and the right atrioventricular valve is the tricuspid valve. Overlapping of the valve leaflets prevents leakage of blood back into the atrium. The chori tendini, the strong ligaments arising from the papillary muscles, are attached to the free edges of the valves, which prevents eversion of the valves during systole. Then coming to semilunar valves, the location at the outlet orifices of the ventricles. The pulmonary semilunar valve is located between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery, and the aortic semilunar valve is located between the left ventricle and the aorta. Ventricular systole, the cusps open and blood is propelled out. End of systole, the cusps snap and prevent regurgitation of blood. Then cardiac innervation. The cardiac innervation is both by sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Parasympathetic stimulation decreases heart activities, sympathetic stimulation increases heart activities. The cardiac pacemaker, that is the SA node activity, is influenced by both parasympathetic and sympathetic systems. However, in basal conditions, parasympathetic or vagal tone is more than the sympathetic tone. Therefore, normally the heart rate is the function of the vagal tone. The ventricular muscle is predominantly supplied by the sympathetic fibers. Therefore, myocardial contractility is greatly influenced by sympathetic discharge. Hence, stroke volume is the function of sympathetic tone. Then coming to parasympathetic innervation, the cardiac vagal fibers originate from the three vagal nuclei present in the medulla oblongata. These are nucleus tractus solitarius, dorsal motor nucleus of vagus, and nucleus ambiguous. The preganglionic parasympathetic fibers traverse in the vagus nerve on both the sides. The ganglion cells are mostly located in the cardiac tissues, and the postganglionic fibers are present in the heart itself. Then difference in right and left vagi. The right vagus innervates right atrium and SA node. Therefore, stimulation of right vagus strongly inhibits heart rate. The left vagus innervates the left atrium, AV node, and the bundle of His. Therefore, stimulation of left vagus slows or blocks AV nodal conduction. However, stimulation of either the nerves can inhibit functions of both the nodes, as there is sufficient overlap in nodal innervation by both the vagi. The innervation of ventricles by the vagi is sparse. Therefore, parasympathetic stimulation does not significantly affect the force of contraction. Vagal stimulation to heart results in negative chronotropic effect, that is decreased heart rate, negative dromotropic effect, decreased rate of conduction, negative bathmotropic effect, decreased excitability of the heart, negative inotropic effect, decreased myocardial contractility. Okay, that is very minimal. Inotropic effect very minimal. Then concept of basal heart rate and intrinsic heart rate. Basal heart rate, it is the heart rate in resting condition. It is also called resting heart rate. SA node is controlled by vagus. Therefore, the basal heart rate depends on vagal tone. Intrinsic heart rate, denervation of the heart increases the heart rate from its basal rate to post denervation rate. The increase in the heart rate following denervation is the intrinsic heart rate, which indicates that normally vagal tone dominates over sympathetic tone for the control of heart rate. Then sympathetic innervation, origin, intermediolateral gray column of the spinal cord starting from lower 2 cervical segments to the upper 5 thoracic segments. The preganglionic fibers emerges from the spinal cord and enters the paravertebral chain of ganglia. The cell bodies of the postganglionic fibers are located in the superior, middle and inferior cervical ganglia. Fibers innervate atria, nodal tissues and conducting pathways and pierce ventricles to extensively supply the myocardium. Difference in left and right sympathetic fibers. The right side of the sympathetic division supplies the SA node, right atrium and right ventricle, whereas left sympathetic fibers mainly supply AV node, left atrium and left ventricle. Thus, stimulation of right sympathetic nerve predominantly affects the heart rate, whereas stimulation of left sympathetic nerve mainly affects the myocardial contractility. Sympathetic stimulation to heart results in positive chronotropic effect, increased heart rate, positive inotropic effect, increased myocardial contractility, positive dromotropic effect, increased rate of contraction, positive bathmotropic effect, increased excitability of the heart. Then the cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is a striated muscle. The nucleus is centrally placed. Fibers are branched. Then specialized areas known as intercalated discs present at the junctions of branching of fibers. Intercalated discs contain many gap junctions. Gap junctions are electrical synapses through which depolarization wave pass through from cell to cell. Heart contracts as a single unit due to presence of gap junctions and hence act as functional syncytium. Then heart as a functional syncytium. A syncytium is defined as a tissue containing cells with no boundaries. Thus, syncytial tissue act as a single unit. Myocardial tissues are not anatomical syncytium. However, they are physiological syncytium as functionally they behave like a single unit due to presence of numerous gap junctions. There are two syncytia in the heart, the atrial syncytium and the ventricular syncytium, as atria and ventricles are functionally two separate units. Then myocardial contractile system consists of sarcomeres that contain thick and thin filaments myosin, thin filaments actin. Shortening of the cardiac muscle occurs by sliding filament mechanism. Cardiac muscle cells are rich in mitochondria, which allows them for rapid oxidation of substrates to produce ATP. Now the sarcotubular system. It consists of transverse tubules, that is T-tubules, and sarcoplasmic reticulum cisterns. The T-tubules are present as deep invagination of the sarcolemma into the muscle fibers at the Z-line, which is present at AI junction in the skeletal muscle. T-tubules are more developed in ventricular myocytes than the atrial myocytes, and the diameter of T-tubule in ventricular muscle cell is more than double the diameter of T-tubules in the skeletal muscle cell. Sarcoplasmic reticulum is present in close association with T-tubular system, forming a dyad that contains one T-tubule and one cistern. Then difference between sarcotubular system of cardiac and skeletal muscle. Then sarcomeric organization, cardiac muscle less regular and skeletal muscle quite regular. Location of T-tubules at the Z-line, and in the skeletal muscle it is in the AI junction. Then diameter of T-tubules, cardiac muscle more, skeletal muscle less. L-tubules, tubular part of the cistern, narrow tubular cistern in cardiac muscle, large dilated cistern in skeletal muscle. Association of T-tubule and cistern, that is dyad, one tubule and one cistern in cardiac muscle. In skeletal muscle it is a triad, one tubule and two cisterns. Length tension relationship. The active force developed is maximum within the optimal length. The interaction of thick and thin filaments and the number of cross bridge formation are maximal within the optimal length. The increase in length of sarcomere increases the sensitivity of the myofilaments to calcium. It is also explained That stretch of myocardium increases the affinity of the troponin C to calcium. When the sarcomeres are stretched beyond the optimal length, the force developed decreases due to decrease in the overlap and interaction between the thick and thin filaments. This decreases cross-bridge formation. Then the Frank-Starling's law of the heart. Law states that the force of contraction is directly proportional to the initial length of the muscle fiber within the physiological limit. There are four mechanisms to explain Frank-Starling's law. One, with increased end diastolic volume, the muscle fiber stretch, which increases the interaction between thick and thin filament, that in turn increases the force of contraction. Number two, the stretch opens the stretch sensitive calcium channel, which increases the calcium influx into the cell, thereby increasing force of contraction. Number three, increase in the intracellular calcium ions increases the further release of calcium ion sarcoplasmic reticulum by activating the calcium induced calcium channels. Increase intracellular calcium increases the force of contraction. Number 4, myocardial stretch enhances the affinity of troponin C for calcium, which increases the force of contraction. Excitation contraction coupling. Ions needed for the generation of the resting membrane potential, the action potential and the pacemaker potential of cardiac tissues. Potassium, that is responsible for resting membrane potential and therefore determines the excitability. Sodium and calcium, they are responsible for action potential. Potassium and calcium responsible for pacemaker potential, and concentration of calcium is responsible for muscle contractility. Then mechanism of EC coupling. Okay, wave of depolarization spreads into the muscle cells through the T-tubule. Then calcium released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Calcium enters into the cytosol. Calcium that enters the cell triggers further calcium release from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Binding of calcium with troponin C causes interaction of calcium troponin complex with tropomyosin that uncovers the active site between the thick and thin filament, which allows the cross bridge cycling and causes muscle contraction. Influence of cytosolic calcium. Alteration in cytosolic calcium alters the force of contraction. Cytosolic calcium can be increased by two mechanisms: by increasing the calcium in the extracellular fluid and by decreasing the sodium gradient across the sarcolemma. Influence of cytosolic sodium. Increased cytosolic sodium retards the sodium calcium exchange, which decreases the calcium removal from the cell. Decreased extracellular fluid sodium causes less sodium to enter into the cell, so that less calcium is exchanged for sodium. The cardiac glycosides digoxin increase the force of contraction by inhibiting sodium potassium ATPase that results in accumulation of intracellular sodium. This decreases the sodium calcium exchange. Then contractility. Change in peak isovolumetric force at a given initial fiber length at the particular end diastolic volume. It represents the performance of ventricle at a given preload or afterload. The increased contractility represents increase in developed force and velocity of contraction. Capillary density. Myocardium is highly rich in capillaries. There is almost one capillary per one muscle fiber in cardiac muscle. Because of the anatomical closeness between the capillary and muscle fiber, the diffusion distance is very less, which facilitates delivery of oxygen and nutrients and removal of carbon dioxide and waste products.